Then after that, it's Florida Matters Live and Local, taking a look at the next president for the University of South Florida. You're welcome to call in and get involved in the conversation. And if you can't catch Florida Matters Live and Local live, no worries. You can browse all the local topics at your convenience at WUSF.org.
When the weather gets dangerous, Florida Public Radio Emergency Network meteorologists strive to keep you informed. You can stay up to date year-round on WUSF and on the mobile app Florida Storms. Supported by WUSF and Citizens Property Insurance. Online at citizensfla.com.
The pick to be the next president at the University of South Florida seemed to be on track, but now the nominee to run the university has to wait. The Board of Governors is meeting this week, but pushed Moaz Lamayam's confirmation to their next meeting in January. So, if he was approved for the job last month by college trustees, what's the holdup? If you're a student, how do you think this will affect you? If you're a parent or you work at USF, are you worried? And if you know what's going on, share. Call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. And later, Progress Village, a historic black neighborhood in Hillsborough County, wants to get historic designation. How would it help preserve their
across some of the country's busiest airports to maintain safety during the government shutdown. This as it deals with persistent staffing shortages of air traffic controllers. NPR's Joel Rose has more.
The FAA is planning to reduce air traffic in 40 high-volume markets beginning on Friday. FAA Administrator Brian Bedford says the agency wants to reduce the pressure at those airports before safety is compromised.
We're not going to wait until we see something flashing red to say, oh, we should take action now.
The FAA has already been delaying flights at some airports because of staffing shortages among air traffic controllers. Those controllers are required to work without pay during the shutdown, but some have taken on second jobs and many are calling out sick. Joel Rose, NPR News, Washington.
The Trump administration says the partial amount of November's SNAP food assistance benefits it will distribute from contingency funds will be higher than first thought, with recipients getting, at most, 65% of their normal benefits. The USDA was ordered by 2 federal judges last week to use the fund to pay out benefits amid the government shutdown. This after the left-leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities found that the USDA's original analysis wouldn't use all of the funds and would have left some recipients with no payments this month. Former Speaker of the House and California Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi says she won't seek re-election in 2027. NPR's Barbara Sprunt reports her departure marks the end of an era in Congress.
First elected in 1987, Pelosi would go on to become one of the most effective leaders of the Democratic Party. She cemented her place in the history books in 2007 when she was elected to become the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House. She could reliably deliver Democratic votes on must-pass legislation when necessary, although her first speakership came at a complicated time with a looming financial crisis. She reclaimed the gavel in 2019. During her 10 years as Speaker, she oversaw the passage of landmark legislation, including the Affordable Care Act, and enacted trillions in new spending as part of the American Rescue Plan. Barbara Sprunt, NPR News, Washington.
Pope Leo says U.S. immigration officials have to respect the rights of migrants. NPR's Jason DeRose has more.
Pope Leo spoke to a group of reporters just outside Rome and expressed concern about the mass arrests and deportations taking place in the United States under the Trump administration. To underscore his point, Leo referred to a passage from the Gospel of Matthew heard in many Catholic churches recently.
Jesus says very clearly, at the end of the world, we're going to be asked, how did you receive the foreigner? Did you receive him and welcome him or not?
The Pope was specifically responding to immigration authorities not allowing migrants arrested in Chicago to receive Holy Communion.
NPR's Jason DeRose. This is NPR.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with its Name Your Price tool, a way to see coverage options based on a driver's budget. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. Tampa Electric customers will pay about $5.50 more every month starting in January. WUSF's Jessica Mazzaros has more on a rate hike finalized this week.
This increase is part of yearly adjustments tacked on to a base rate hike approved in 2024. Brooke Ward with Food and Water Watch says this will be the fourth increase in a year.
So that's where this really ends up being a much bigger increase than it looks like on paper.
Let's break it down. The initial base rate hike was in January. Then in March, the utilities started charging for storm recovery. And in June, there was an increase in customer fuel charges.
All three of those have compounded with this additional increase that's going into effect on January 1st.
Customers will pay over $900 more annually than they did 5 years ago. Jessica Mazzaros, WUSF 89.7 News.
Florida's senators have filed a bill in Congress that would ban oil and gas drilling off the coasts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina for 7 years. Alex Horn is with the nonprofit environmental group Healthy Gulf. She says even a buffer of 100 miles is too close for comfort.
The BP disaster was 103 miles off the coast, and we got direct impacts along the shorelines, especially in Pensacola, of oil spills on our beaches.
The ban would last until 2032. U.S. Senator Ashley Moody of Plant City said in a prepared statement she wants to protect our state's coastline for the next generation. ESPN is on the USF Tampa campus today for a live Sports Center on campus telecast. It's to hype the Bulls' home game tonight against the University of Texas at San Antonio. Students and fans invited to bring signs and gather at the plaza outside the Marshall Student Center starting at 1. The live Sports Center airs from 2 to 3 p.m., and the game is at Raymond James Stadium with a kickoff set for 7:30 tonight. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
Elements is considered one of the best Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute bands. Join Bog Tower Gardens for a night of greatest hits from over 3 decades, like September and Boogie Wonderland. Live November 15th at 6 p.m. Details at bogtowergardens.org.
Want to catch up on Tampa Bay area news and culture? I'm Sky LeBron, and I got you every weekday morning with the Bay Blend podcast from WUSF. It's quick, fun, and you'll discover something new every day. It's the Bay Blend, wherever you get your podcasts, or at WUSF.org.
This is Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. We're broadcasting from the doctors Lorraine Rubis and Neil Frankel studio at WSF in Tampa. Well, back in October, the University of South Florida's Board of Trustees unanimously approved Moaz Lamayam as the sole finalist to be the next president of the university. The final step is a confirmation by the State Board of Governors, but now there's a bit of a hiccup. Ryan Hughes is with USF University Communications and Marketing. He told WUSF in an email that the confirmation is being delayed. Quote, "The BOG informed USF that the November meeting agenda is full, but they look forward to considering Dr. Lamayam's confirmation at the next available meeting." Well, that next available meeting is next year in January. WUSF's Steve Newborn attended the BOG's meeting yesterday. He spoke to Lamayam briefly, asking him about his confirmation being absent from the meeting agenda.
I believe the agenda is a full agenda. That's what we were told.
Is that all you're telling? Are you is there any kind of disappointment in your mind for pushing this back 3 months?
Absolutely not. I think it's a process. We need to respect the process.
Okay. Any thoughts about what you'll do in the next 3 months? Are you still going to be up at North Florida?
Once we are confirmed, we will give you the vision and the plan for the next few weeks and months. But I think we're taking it one step at a time. We have to respect the process. Thank you.
What's the first thing you think you're going to do when you are confirmed?
The first thing is get confirmed.
Second thing. What's the second thing you're going to do?
Then enjoy the confirmation. Okay, no, but really is. We need to respect the process. We have 2 universities involved, 2 great universities, and we owe it to our colleague in both universities. We owe it to our Board of Governors and to our taxpayers to respect the process. It's really difficult for us to comment before the process is over. But thank you, though.
It was Moaz Lamayam yesterday at the Florida Board of Governors meeting talking with WSF Steve Newborn. The takeaway there, I guess, respect the process. Well, here to talk more about that process is Eric Kelderman. He's a reporter with the Chronicle of Higher Education. Eric, thanks so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be there. Happy to be with you. Thanks.
And you can join the conversation too. If you're a student, how do you think this delay in confirmation will affect you? If you're a university employee, do you have some concerns? You can tell us about them, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can send us an email. We're at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. So, Eric, we heard in that little soundbite from Moaz Lamayam, he didn't sound like he's panicking about the delay. One of our other reporters also spoke to Eric Salegi, who's on the Board of Governors, and he spoke to Kerry Sheridan. He said it doesn't seem to be a political issue regarding Moaz Lamayam, just timing. I mean, sorry to sound suspicious, but it does seem a little odd with that timing, right? So what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think, we're probably Floridians are probably still thinking about the debacle around the Santa Ono candidacy and what happened there and how it was sort of shot down at the last minute. It does seem somewhat unusual, and I want to stress here that I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't think anybody but the players involved really understand what's happening. I looked at the agenda. It seems like a fairly full agenda. On the other hand, these things typically, are fairly cut and dried and might not take a lot of discussion or time. So it's unusual, but I don't want to. I also don't want to say that that this is a smoking gun. That there's evidence of any sort of controversy that's happening. At this point.
So, I mean, is it typical though to have a presidential confirmation, like a university presidential confirmation, delayed for this long? Because that is quite a stretch between this meeting, which is happening over the course of 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. So the second part of it's today, and the end of January, and it's like almost 3 months.
Yeah, usually when it gets to this point, everybody's kind of signed off, and there's an employment agreement that's in place, and they're gonna vote on it and agree to it. Usually, there's a lot of behind the scenes discussions, and so normally this, like I said, this would be cut and dried. So that does add an element of uncertainty about is there some concern about either Mr. Lamayam's background or opening up another. He mentioned the fact that there's two Florida institutions involved, and maybe there's some hiccup with his current institution not wanting to, wondering about, well, if we lose a president. I really don't know, but it's usually pretty, like I said, cut and dried at this point.
Yeah. So you mentioned Santa Ono. Of course, people have been paying attention to this. This was the person who was going to be the next president of the University of Florida. Very prestigious position, right? I mean, a lot of eyes on that. It's the jewel in the crown of the state university system in Florida, so very high-profile position. And there'd been some issues with the previous president of the university as well. I mean, he seemed like a sure thing there. He was the president of the University of Michigan. Do you see some parallels with what's happening there? Or again, is this just kind of reading too much into it with the situation we're looking at here with USF?
I don't see a lot of parallels between certainly not between Mr. Ono and Mr. Lamayam. I mean, I think the last time I was on here, I stressed the idea that Mr. Lamayam here is he should be a known quantity, right? He's been in the state for a long time. He has deep ties with the community where he's currently serving, and the Board of Governors, I'm sure, is quite familiar with him, as should be the governor and the state legislature.
Right.
So I think that's different, right? Santa Ono. And also, Santa Ono was coming from the University of Michigan, which had been highlighted in a lot of sort of very negative press about their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. That's not an issue for Mr. Lamayam at all. He comes from he's not from a humanities background. He's a science guy. That should be sort of some comfort to folks that he's
right. The business background is important.
Right. The business background, I think, would be a positive for the Board of Governors, et cetera. So I don't draw any parallels necessarily there, but like I said, I think the Ono thing is casting a pretty long shadow.
Yeah, we're talking about the confirmation, the delay, I guess, in confirmation for the potential next president of the University of South Florida, Moaz Lamayam. He's been confirmed by the university's Board of Trustees, waiting on confirmation from the Florida Board of Governors. If you have some thoughts about this, maybe you're connected to the University of South Florida and you're wondering how this might affect the university, give us a call, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Eric, if we kind of pull out the focus a little bit and just talk about Florida's university system in general, a lot of Florida's newest public university presidents are former lawmakers or people with political connections. Just to name a couple of them, Florida Atlantic University's president is former Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez. Sarasota's new college is run by former House Speaker Richard Corcoran. There's a whole list of them. So this is somewhat unusual if you compare Florida State University system with other university systems across the country, right? So just kind of unpack that for a little bit. What is happening here in terms of this trend of these maybe more politically aligned appointees coming in to run these universities?
You know, I think the answer there is that you've got a governor who's been intensely engaged in trying to reshape public higher education in the state and public education overall, right? It's sort of the start with some of the legislation that passed a few years ago, the Stop Woke Act. Mm-hmm. You had the overhaul of the new college, with including the presidency there held by a close ally of Mr. DeSantis, Governor DeSantis.
Sure, a new college has been kind of totally remade in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. And so believe it or not, these university gigs are actually somewhat, I think, seen as somewhat desirable, and also a way for DeSantis and other conservatives in the state to, I guess, put their stamp on higher education in a sense, right?
Right. I mean, the desirability connects back to pay in a lot of ways. They get paid a pretty handsome sum to do the job.
And as a matter of fact, I mean, the University of Central Florida president, his contract, I guess, is going to be renewed by the board today, and I was peeking through that, and the base salary there is like $1.2 million with 30% amount of deferred salary. So,
$1.2 million.
Yeah, that's a fair amount of money for it. But look, it's an important job, right? These are large institutions. Many of them have billion-dollar budgets, including medical complexes, right? Lots of research and important stuff going on there. So I don't want to diminish the salary. In some ways, reflects the complexity and gravity of the position.
Looking over that agenda, I mean, that's been mentioned a couple of times, the packed agenda in the last kind of minute or so we have here. Eric, what stood out to you about that agenda? What are you paying attention to?
A couple of things that we're watching here at the Chronicle. One is the cuts that are being made under the Florida DOGE Commission. So I think that could raise a lot of concerns if the state government comes in and pronounces that a lot of these things should be cut. That's gonna raise a lot of hackles. The other thing that I've covered specifically over in recent months is this Commission for Public Higher Education. This is an accreditation body that's being formed by Florida and 6 other states in the region in the South. That's a very interesting enterprise, and I'll be paying attention to that. So those are two of the things. And I believe I thought there was going to be some sort of discussion about forcing all faculty put syllabuses online throughout the system. That would also raise a lot of concerns from faculty.
Right. So lots to keep you busy in this couple of days there. Eric Kelderman with the Chronicle of Higher Education. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Happy to join you. Thanks.
Well, coming up next, Progress Village celebrated its 65th birthday last weekend. People who live in the historically black Hillsborough County neighborhood are proud of the community and worried it could be lost to development. In a few moments, you'll hear from a community organizer who's working to preserve and protect the neighborhood. That's when Florida Matters Live and Local continues. Stay with us.
WUSF depends on contributions from people like you and Green & Green Attorneys at Law, dedicated to helping clients navigate through the complexities of the estate and trust process, from contested wills to beneficiary conflicts. Learn more at greenlegalfirm.com. Subscriptions are now on sale for the Ringling College Town Hall Speaker Series, featuring the world's leading spokespeople in world affairs, journalism, film, and more. January through April. Learn more at rclassociation.org.
I'm Scott Tong. A short story by the great mystery noir writer Raymond Chandler was recently discovered and published for the first time.
This shows another side to him, and it shows a side of a man who struggled early in his career, and like many other writers, received many rejections.
Next time, Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. We'll be talking about preserving community with a look at two special places. Progress Village turned 65 last weekend. The community in the middle of Hillsborough County is home to over 11,000 residents. Back in 1960, it was one of the first affordable housing complexes for African American families in the Hillsborough County. Here's how some people from the neighborhood remember growing up there.
We went out in the woods, we hunted, we played baseball, we played football. Big park is across the street. We went to that park, so it was like a community.
Lawyers, doctors, teachers, you name it, but it was just one big family unit. It was a village where everybody looked out for each other.
Well, that was Ronnie Hootie Hoo Wilson and Angelita Fort, but people who've been living there a long time are worried this historically black neighborhood could be replaced by a new development. Here's Elmont Vance.
I think Progress Village is going to be swallowed up by all the surroundings, the new homes, the new apartments, people coming in, buying up the homes in Progress Village. So by that, in another 60 years, you might not even know it was ever here.
Well, you can hear more from longtime Progress Village residents and see photos from WUSF's Jessica Mazzaros on WUSF.org. Community leader Twanda Bradley has a plan to save Progress Village. She's president of the Progress Village Civic Council, and she's with us now. Twanda, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate the offer here.
Well, you're trying to get the neighborhood recognized by the federal government as a historic district. So what makes this neighborhood special?
Within itself, the very first African American community to have affordable homes that we can purchase. Mm-hmm. It's been in existence for 65 years. Many of the originals are still there, those that are still alive. If not them, their offsprings are still owning some of the homes. So that makes it so much better for us.
Right, so there's a real connection with folks who maybe moved in there as kids, when they were kids with their families, and they've either they keep coming back or they've stayed there.
Exactly. For example, myself, I was born and raised there. Mm-hmm. I don't physically live there but own properties there, but my family's home is still in existence and families living in it. And I've had even great-grands living in the home since my parents been gone.
What was it like growing up there for you?
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Family-oriented. The way things happen is everyone was your mom and your dad. It didn't matter what your last name was. Didn't matter what street you lived on. Everybody lived as one family.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier, one of your neighbors mentioned the risk of nearby development. And maybe for those unfamiliar with Progress Village, just to kind of give a sense of place, it's nestled just west of I-75. It's bordered on the south by the Hillsborough River. You've got State Road 60 to the north. How close is new construction and other growth to Progress Village?
Closer than close, if I can say that. Literally in some of our backyards. Literally, one of our. I'm with Progress Village Civic Council itself, and one of our board members, her family home, when I say in her backyard, literally in her backyard. So it's growing up all around us. There's some that's already there and some new developments that are looking to come. Mm-hmm. So very concerned, especially when it comes to stormwater and things like that with the new developments coming. The residents have huge concern that we won't exist. And that's one of the major reasons why I want to make sure that we become historical. It gives us some form of security, different plans to make sure we hold on to the homes, make the homes healthier, because that's another challenge we have, right? The low income, challenge there, keeping the homes, taxes, insurance, you name it. Those are great, great concerns. So what I do or hope to do is to instill into people very important things that have to be done. First of all, knowing the value of your home, knowing that it is an asset, and to not sell it.
Right.
Not sell the homes.
Do you mind if I ask? So you said you're on the board, so you're kind of very connected to the community. You don't live there though. Why did you decide to move away?
Well, I moved away. I don't know. When I say I don't know, because I was always a part of Progress Village. Always went to school there. Family, when I got older, it was just an opportunity. Someone I was working with had an opportunity that I can buy a condo.
Okay.
So it was going to be my very first that I can purchase that was affordable for me back in 1990s. And so that's why I purchased, lived there almost 40 years. And so, but I still, my heart has always been in Progress Village. I tell everyone that I pay taxes somewhere else, but home is in Progress Village.
Would you move back?
Oh, yes, I would.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I would. In a heartbeat.
Just in a few minutes on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're going to hear how Newtown got on the National Register of Historic Places. Is that something you want for Progress Village?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, what we've done, I've been doing this for about 3 years, looking into it. When I first approached Hillsborough County, I learned at that point that the county is different from the city. With the city, they already have a process that you can go to be named a historical site. Learned the county does not have such a thing. They have it for buildings, but not for community.
Entire places,
exactly.
Right.
So from that point, we had many meetings with their attorneys and everything, and what they came up with was an opportunity that possibly through federal or the state of Florida could log us as a historical site.
So have you got the ball rolling on that?
Yes, we have. So just this year, finally, Hillsborough County locked down a grant, I believe it's like $50,000 or so, where they're working with University of South Florida and doing the research on the beginning stages of determining if we can become a historical community.
So you've got some historic buildings there. Is that the criteria? Like you've got to have a certain number of places that are, of significance that need to be preserved?
It's the homes. It's the individual homes. So they have to survey the different homes to make sure it's still in the same footprint in which the community was built. We do have, I think it's about 4 churches, and Progress Village Shopping Plaza is there as well that meet the qualification of historical buildings. But the study has to be,
that's interesting that a shopping plaza would kind of fit that. I mean, when people hear that, they're like, a shopping plaza, really?
Yes. Well, the shopping plaza was a home for us. We had, believe it or not, we had our own 7-Eleven back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
In that same plaza, on the corner of the plaza was 7-Eleven and then other small businesses. So today the 7-Eleven is not there, but different small business, including my nonprofit, Grow My Giving, is actually in that building now.
Is there a balancing act between preservation and progress? Like, could you keep this community alive if a lot of the buildings were lost? No. Because as we said earlier, it's family based. And the majority of the community, 95% of it, if not more, because it's just the plazas and the churches, are the homes. And so if the people are not there, then we can't preserve it. It may hold the name Progress Village, but if the people don't own the homes, then we're not safe. Are you worried that could happen, though? Or are you confident that this plan to get designation, as a historic place, that's going to help?
That's a start of it. That's a start of it, and that's just being named as a historical site. Right now, under Progress Village Civic Council, we have something called the Progressive Initiative. And the Progressive Initiative is trying to address the other things around that. Keeping the homes, educating the individuals how important it is to not, the younger generation not to sell.
Right.
That's very important.
Yeah.
As last but not least, that's very important, is educating them how, or finding funds to help them restore the homes, because some of the homes are in deep need, especially since the last hurricane that flooded us out.
Tawanda Bradley, we're going to have to leave it there. You're the president of Progress Village Civic Council. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Up next, we head south to one of Sarasota's oldest neighborhoods. Last year, the historically black community of Newtown was officially listed on the National Register of Historic Places. They're going to be celebrating that this weekend, and you can hear how the historic designation can help Newtown preserve its landmarks and put it on the map as a tourist destination. Stay tuned for that conversation.
This is the season when philanthropy and financial planning come together. Community Foundation Tampa Bay helps you maximize your year-end charitable giving while making a lasting impact. Learn more at cftampa.org. www.tampabay.org. Visit Gainesville, Alachua County is where wild bison roam the prairie and famous Florida reptiles sun at the water's edge and on campus. Weekends filled with tailgates and trail dates, found at visitgainesville.com.
On the next Fresh Air, journalist David Graham of The Atlantic on how the groundwork for next year's midterms is already being laid. From new voting restrictions to legal battles and political power plays, his latest piece, The Coming Election Mayhem, looks at what's next. Join us.
Great conversation on Fresh Air tonight at 7 on WUSF.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. You just heard about a neighborhood in Tampa which is pushing for historic designation. Now let's talk about a community in Sarasota that's celebrating its own historic recognition this weekend. A Taste of Newtown, the community's annual food festival, is honoring their listing on the National Register of Historic Places. And Newtown was one of the first African-American neighborhoods in Sarasota. It's right near downtown, and its history is rooted in the story of housing segregation. Here's La Tiara Love, who talked with WUSF about her impressions of Newtown and the importance of community a few years ago.
I see the importance of community on a grander scale since I've been here. Like, everybody's literally working together. They're carpooling together, they go to church together, they hang out together. So I think that it's made me more open and available to connect with people. It just makes you feel empowered. A lot of times, even in school, when you get introduced to African American history, it always starts with slavery or something like that. Like, it's just nice being in a space and just hearing those stories about people that look like you that have done these amazing things. Like, even the integration on the beaches here, which I think is so cool, because I just go to Lido Beach carefree.
Well, that was La Tiara Love. She talked to WSF about Newtown a few years ago. We're joined now by Vicki Oldham. She's the president and CEO of the Sarasota African American Cultural Coalition. She's also the consultant and community scholar for Newtown Alive, and she's the driving force behind Newtown's historic designation. Vicki, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, tell me about the process of getting that designation on the National Register of Historic Places. Like, how long did it take from the idea to actuality?
So, Matthew, you have to understand that I did not know that this was on the list of priorities that the city of Sarasota wanted to do. They hired me to be a consultant to document the 100-year history of Newtown, because residents had pushed to make sure that their history was remembered, because they saw what had happened in another African American community in Sarasota, the gentrification that had happened, the erasure of their history. And they felt like, you know what, if we don't document it now, then our community is going to be erased. Well, I was selected as the city's consultant to do this work. They wanted a research report. They wanted oral histories of pioneers recorded. They wanted some educational materials. I organized a team of scholars, Dr. Rosalind Howard. I pay homage to her. She's no longer with us, but she was the anthropologist that helped us on this project. So I did not know that the city was planning on submitting a request to be a historic district. And so after we finished phase 1, the city said, hey, we'd like you to continue on with phase 2.
And phase 2 was getting that historic designation?
Actually, no, phase 2 was the digital imprint, and the city wanted historic markers to be located throughout that Newtown community to tell the story. And so, in retrospect, I see what they were doing. They were building a case for why that historic designation was deserved, was earned, and, why we needed it.
And so that happened last year, but how long was that process? Was it a process of years?
That process of getting the historic designation probably was about 2 years, but they had to show all of these resources that my team had organized. And of course, they had resources to show.
Yeah.
And so we indeed got the historic designation. And, it's not any old designation, Matthew. We are the largest African American historic district in the state of Florida. And that is so important. And that's something that we are very, very proud of, and we can boast about that.
How do you think it's changed Newtown? Like, has it changed the way people who live there and have lived there for a long time feel about the place? Has it changed the way you present the community of Newtown to visitors?
So this is a designation that is just beginning to be marketed in the way that it should be. Yes, it has changed how I interact with tourists and visitors who come into our historic house and who I host on trolley tours. So it definitely has added some information that I can share with the people that I engage with. But it is being marketed now. And I think the first marketing push will be this Taste of Newtown event that's coming up.
And this is something that has been around since 2008, correct? So is there something different about this year's Taste of Newtown? How are you leaning into that designation that was awarded last year?
Oh, it's going to be amplified and it's going to be showcased. They will have trolley tours also. We've had some trolley tours, but we've got some boasting rights right now.
Mm-hmm.
So our team will be hosting trolley tours and pointing out some of those resources, those historic resources, those buildings, and we'll be telling those stories about Newtown and how it was settled. And visitors will be coming to make a stop at our historic house, the Leonard Reed House. It's going to be 100 years old next year. So we'll be telling the story of Leonard Reed and his family and how important he was in our community.
If you're just joining us on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're talking with Vicki Oldham, President and CEO of the Sarasota African American Cultural Coalition, talking about Newtown's designation on the National Register of Historic Places. Vicki, it sounded like people in Newtown were a little concerned about gentrification and kind of preserving what they had in Newtown. Having this designation, does it add a level of protection for some of those historic places you were mentioning, like that 100-year-old building, for example?
Right. There are some protections, but these are the benefits. People will be able to qualify for certain tax credits, local and state tax credits, to improve and rehab their historic structures. For instance, the city of Sarasota has a program where they sent notices to everyone who owned a house that was, I believe, over 50 years old, and they could qualify to get money to improve their historic structure. So there'll be benefits like that. Besides that, they get to have this pride in community and pride of place. We live here in an historic community, and it is among Sarasota's oldest neighborhoods, believe it or not. And we are beginning to understand this history. It is so rich.
What did you learn, like in the course of the work you were doing for the city of Sarasota? Like what kind of things did you not realize about Newtown that came to light as you were working on this project?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked that question. We were taught African American history in our schools, but they were the big stories about Rosa Parks, about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I loved hearing them, but I did not know so much these local stories. La Tierra Love mentioned the beach desegregation story. I didn't really understand that story. I did not know that there was a time in Sarasota where African Americans were not allowed to enjoy the sand and surf. I didn't know that it took a nonviolent protest Sunday after Sunday by a man named Neil Humphrey Sr., who started those nonviolent protests, followed up by John Rivers. And I did not know that generations of Black people from Newtown had to participate in these protests to open up the beaches for us. And not only beaches, but, public accommodations throughout Sarasota. The libraries were not open up to us, the city parks, in addition to the beaches. And there was a time when we could not move around and buy property in certain neighborhoods in Sarasota. So there's so much that I've learned, and it has become my superpower.
Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, has it been a source of inspiration for folks from other communities that may be looking for a way to preserve what they have as well?
So this project started out as historic preservation, and it has turned into cultural heritage tourism. And so when people are coming to Sarasota and want an African American history experience, they're going to Google and finding us. And they're going on trolley tours, and they're looking at what we've done, because we've produced a great amount of work. There are resources. There are murals that tell Black history stories. There are podcasts on the website. There is the website. So much. And so, yes, they're seeing the ideas that have come to fruition for us. There's a book, and then other people are spinning off their own books. And that's what I had in mind for this story. I knew that I couldn't do, all of the work that needed to be done. I did leverage the city's work, but, it just began to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So yes, to answer your question, other communities are inspired by the work that we've done here in Sarasota. And I couldn't be more proud. I'm just so happy. And these were little known, underreported, and almost lost African American stories. I mean, who knew about the Black man that traveled with John Ringling on a train and, kept the Kadzan while John Ringling was in Europe buying the Rubens paintings? He wrote about what he saw. He wrote about what he saw in a book called Born to Be. I did not know this book existed.
Wow. So you mentioned some of the big events that you learned about, when you were studying Florida history or American history. And is there a connection with the Black Heritage Trail and Newtown that kind of loops Newtown into the civil rights movement there?
Oh, boy. So after we had started this project and it was getting more publicity and people started understanding what it is that we were trying to do, Visit Sarasota's executive director reached out to me and she said, I think that we can get on the U.S. Civil Rights Trail. I worked with her in submitting the proposal to get Sarasota on the U.S. Civil Rights Trail. We are the southernmost point on that trail.
Wow.
And it is because of that beach desegregation story that got us on the trail, because it was one of those unknown stories that certainly tourists were not aware of. During the height of the civil rights movement, this little story wasn't really getting the ink. Mm-hmm. It was the sanitation workers, and the bus boycotts and the lunch counter sit-ins that were getting, a lot of the publicity. But a lot of things were happening here in Sarasota to open up our beaches. And not only Sarasota, it was happening throughout the state. I didn't know that only a few miles of county shorelines were open to Blacks around the state of Florida. I didn't know that. There was a Black beach, American Beach, near Amelia Island in Jacksonville. And then down in Fort Lauderdale, there was a Black beach. And then there was Paradise Park in Ocala. Paradise Park was the Black section of an amusement park area in that Ocala area. But I had no idea that only 2 to 3 miles of county shorelines were open to Blacks.
So this really kind of locates Sarasota and its importance in that story of the civil rights movement in Florida. Vicki, it's been great talking with you. Vicki Oldham, President and CEO of the Sarasota African American Cultural Coalition. We are going to have to leave it there, but I really appreciate your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, coming up next, we'll take a spin around the rough and tumble world of roller derby. You're listening to Florida Matters, live and local. Much more to come after this.
Support for WUSF comes from listeners like you and from the Tampa Bay Times, presenting Spotlight Tampa Bay. Can We Still Talk? Finding Empathy During Divided Times, November 6th, in partnership with Foundation for a Healthy St. Petersburg. Registration is at tampabay.com/spotlight. Mannheim Steamroller Christmas returns to Ruth Eckerd Hall this season. Experience the magic of the holidays with the iconic sound of Mannheim Steamroller Christmas on Thursday, November 13th. Tickets on sale now. Visit rutheckerdhall.com.
I'm Peter O'Dowd. Army recruiters don't target kids until they get to high school, but soldiers from the Army's esports team do play video games with much younger kids.
The esports team does pretty well connecting with kids that are younger than that. If a young kid sees a guy that they really respect, then they might start to think about the Army a little bit more.
Next time on Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
I'm Nancy Guan, a reporter at WUSF. Like you, I'm busy, and I need help staying on top of what's going on. I depend on the Wake Up Call, the daily newsletter from WUSF. It starts your weekdays with a quick early glance at the important news happening in the Tampa Bay region and the world. You get quality reporting from WUSF and NPR journalists, and connections to local artists, events, and more. Sign up is easy. Just visit WUSF.org.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Matthew Petty. This Saturday, two teams duke it out for skating supremacy at the Tampa Roller Derby's home team championship game. The Cigar City Mafia takes on the Switchblades. Now, if those names sound a little bit threatening, it's kind of the point. Here's a description of the Switchblades. Wear blue and black and watch your back, or the Switchblades will cut you. And here's what a roller derby game sounds like.
So let's give you who's out in the pack right now. I see number 78, that's Betty Kruger. 138, that's Lily the Kid. And number 18, that's Reese's Tear You to Pieces. Pivoting is the lunch lady herself, 212. Who's scoring at the back of the pack is Little A Amazing, as I like to call her. She's using her teammates as battering rams to take out everybody in white. Down she goes and calls a jam. 2 more points picked up by Little A in the Tampa.
All right, that's footage from a game back in 2011. That's before the Derby Darlings became the Tampa Roller Derby. Are you a roller derby fan? A newbie maybe? What do you want to know about this unconventional sport? Let us know. The number is 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Well, to tell us more about the thrills and spills of roller derby, here's Kim 2 Therms Up Thurman and Alexis Axel Greaser Morales Doherty. And full disclosure, Kim Thurman is actually a member of the WUSF staff, but thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so let's start with what exactly is roller derby, because I'm sure some people must be thinking, what is this sport?
So it's a sport played on roller skates, on quad roller skates, the old school 2x2s. You have 4 blockers for each team, and you have a jammer who's scoring the points, and the blockers are playing offense and defense at the same time to try and get their jammers out and stop the other.
How do you actually score a point, though?
The jammer gets through the opposing blockers, and for every opposing blocker that they pass, they get a point. And
so you're kind of
going
like doing loops of the track. Okay.
For 2 minutes at a time. And the lead jammer, who's the person who gets up first, they have a special power that we like to call, and they get to call off the jam. So if maybe you get out and you score 4 points and your opposing jammer hasn't gotten out yet, you can call it and they won't get any points and you'll get 4.
That sounds like a lot to keep in mind while you're also on skates and trying not to fall over or get hit.
A little bit, yeah.
Now, you're a match official. What's your role? What do you do?
As an official, I'm sometimes on skates. There are 7 officials on skates. There's 4 on the middle and 3 on the outside. And then I also do non-skating officiating, which is like keeping track of the score, keeping track of the time, keeping track of the penalties, timing the penalties, all that fun stuff.
Okay. And Alexis, what's your role on the team?
I am a blocker as a skater, and then I do training for our new people. I do QK2. We have 3 levels of places you can be when you first start. So show you how to skate, show you how to take contact, and then how to play roller derby.
So I was watching some videos to kind of do a little bit of research before this interview, and one of them was like a kind of an introduction to roller derby, and there was a couple of people, I think you might have been in this one actually, there was a couple of people saying, before I started playing this sport, I didn't know how to skate, and I'm thinking, how is this possible? Because this is a pretty full-on contact sport, right?
Yeah, it takes, you have to have a little tenacity, you have to really want it, because it'll humble you really, really fast, especially when you're an adult and you're like, I got this. You don't have like the no fear of a little kid with your rubber bones, it's scary, but I didn't know how to skate. And
wow. And how long have you been doing it for?
19 years almost. Yeah, 18 and a half years. I started in Hawaii. I played there for 6 years. Then I went to Maryland. I played there for a little over 6 years. And then I've been with Tampa for almost 7.
So your introduction to roller skating was actually roller derby. You're like, you saw it and you're like,
yeah.
I want to get in on this.
I mean, I skated randomly like as a kid, but no, it was unfortunate to see me when I first started, but
yeah.
Now I feel good.
Have you had any injuries?
Yeah, I've had a couple. Nothing. I've never broken anything. Just some of my feelings. That's about it.
Yeah.
But you get sprained ankle, all the bruises in the world, black eye here and there, but
yeah.
But I keeping the face good. Got all my teeth.
Right, because the attitude is important.
Yes.
Yeah. I've got to ask about your shirts too. So you've got a Tampa roller derby shirt on. You're wearing this is one of the teams, the Tantrums?
Yes, the Tampa. That's our A team.
Okay.
Yes.
And explain how that works, because I was sort of looking at the roster. It seems like the players are on several different teams at once.
So we have 4 travel teams, an A, a B, a C, and an open gender team. And then we have 3 home teams, which the Cigar City Mafia, Switchblades, and the Black Widows.
Okay, so are you involved in this competition this weekend, this game?
I am. We're going to do the Stash Bash.
What is that?
The final flock.
Oh, the final flock down. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's our championship game, ending our season.
Okay.
We're going up against the Switchblades, who apparently are undefeated, but the Mafia is gonna,
Yeah.
We're going to pull it through.
Is there trash talking in this sport?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The before the games, there's always like an intro, so the skaters skate around, they introduce their names and their numbers, the announcer does. And sometimes there's some, what do you call it, like little skits about how they're going to treat the other team. Yeah. Sometimes there's mannequins that come out. So, yeah.
Sometimes they drop things at your house in the middle of the night.
Wow. That's dedicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of team rivalry, and once you get on a team, it's about that team, and we're going to do what we need to do to make sure we win.
Yeah. I got to ask about the names too. So these are unique. A lot of them are quite Tampa-esque. You got the Sea Sirens, as you mentioned, the Cigar City Mafia. How do you come up with these names?
I think a lot of it, so in some leagues, not necessarily our league, but they're given to you. Okay. I created my own just because I wanted something kind of fun. I didn't want an intimidating name, but I know a lot of people, they want that intimidating name. A lot of people use their legal name to incorporate, or their last name, or something they do, because we have a couple people who are nurses and they try and incorporate that into their name. I think it just depends. How'd you get your name?
I worked at a bar for 10 years, and this man, his name was Red Mike. He came in every day, and he just would call me Axle Grease all the time.
Wow. That's kind of a variation on your actual name.
Yeah, I guess. And I did dress kind of like a greaser, so maybe that's what he thought. And so when it was time to pick a name, it was between 2. It was Axle Greaser or Avita Paralysis.
Wow.
And I chose Axle Greaser.
Is there kind of like a bit of an underground or sort of a punk vibe to the sport, do you think?
I think when I first started, yeah, it was a little bit more like DIY, use Sharpie to write your flyers and have somebody use the copier at their work. And now we're more organized, you know, you have the internet and people making flyers and just being a little bit more organized.
Yeah, and you've been involved in this for some time, like 19 years is a good stretch, I imagine, in a sport like this, which is going to take some toll on your body.
It does. You know, you definitely have to, just like anything, it depends on like how you participate. If you want to, you know, do you want to go all in and be on every team you ever could be on and be more competitive, or do you kind of like to do it on a weekend deal? And so you kind of have to take care of your body according to that.
Mm-hmm. So did you know how to skate before you started officiating?
I did, yeah. I grew up going to United Skates on Armenia, which is local. I went there during the summer, during the school days. So I was on roller skates quite a bit. And then I had a friend who we worked together, and her brother's girlfriend was on the team at the time. And she was like, we should really go to this game and just see what it's about. And we went, and I grew up playing team sports, so like soccer, and wanted to kind of get back into that in my 20s. And when we went to that game, the announcer was like, you know, we're always looking for volunteers if you're interested. And I was like, I could get into this. And so I went with the intention of being a volunteer, but maybe becoming a player. And that never really worked out, which I'm fine with. I stayed on the official side, but I was like, you know, I know how to roller skate. I don't know all the details of roller derby, and I asked someone and they were like, yeah, you should put on skates and become a ref. You know, we'll teach you what you need to know.
Do you find that when people are kind of in character on the, on the arena, in the arena, do things get a bit nasty, or are they able to kind of keep it sort of civil?
I think they keep them pretty civil.
Yeah.
And even when they are in like the persona or in the heat of the moment, because it is a competitive sport, and like we have people on teams who they want to win, you know, even though it's a home team game. It never gets like that heated. I think back in the day, a lot of people are familiar with like roller derby in the 70s, and like there were, you know, smackdowns and like people getting hit. We don't really have that much anymore, but we do, like, we want the fans to have a good time. So we want to entertain them, but we also want to play the sport to the best of our ability.
So you're in a pretty unique situation because you're able to skate around and get really close to the action, but you're not getting barreled over yourself by players. Or does that sometimes happen? Do they sometimes kind of knock into the referees?
They do, but there's specific rules that like skaters have to avoid refs. But yes, we're skating just as much as they are, sometimes more, because they get to take a break every so often, and officials skate every jam. But yeah, there are times where officials get knocked out. It's usually never on purpose, though. Yeah. It's always by accident.
And this club's been around 20 years?
2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the 20th season that they celebrated earlier this year. We had a 20-year anniversary game.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the future looks like? Got another 20 years?
The kids are coming up.
Yeah.
The kids are going to come up. That's the future for us. Like, I think of, especially Tampa Roller Derby, we have excellent, excellent kids. And a lot of them, you know, they start before their bones harden, and then by the time they're 18, they come and play with the grown folks, and it's just really nice to see that. And
what did you say, the ground folks?
The grown folks.
Oh, the grown folks. Oh, sorry, I thought it was okay. Right. Yeah.
So I think the kids are gonna keep us going, and you know, it requires a lot to keep roller derby happening constantly. And we're all volunteers. We're all just here doing it on our own time.
Yeah. In the last 30 seconds here, where can people go to see this final game of the season?
It's at Skate World, which is in Town and Country, right off of Hillsborough and Hanley. If you want to check us out, you can. We also have a website. We're on all the social medias, Tampa Roller Derby. Yeah.
All right. We've been talking about Tampa Roller Derby with Kim Two Thumbs Up Thurman and Alexis Axel Greaser Morales Doherty. Kim, Alexis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that's our show for today, but before we go, we do have a favour to ask of you. Next week on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're talking about caregiving. If you're a caregiver, call and leave us a voice message about your experience. The number is 813-755-6562. We may feature that message in our show next week. You can also send us an email, floridamatters@wusf.org. Our executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producer is Amelie Horace. Lily Belcher is our intern. Our engineers are Jackson Harp and Gio Garvin. Jackson composes the music, and Malika Hollis handled the video today. Subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch on WUSF's YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Petty. Thanks for listening and watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
At WUSF, support comes from the people who listen, like you.